What's good, YouTube? It's your main man, AB the Hero, back again with another video. Ooh, and we gotta dive in on this Slam article one more time. I'm not gonna hold y'all too long, but this isn't too important to skip. All right, so in the last video we talked about Lamelo's situation with the Hornets and how he was feeling about that, and if they was really gonna give him the keys and what that would look like. Okay, but in this video what I want to talk about is the parts of the article in which Lamelo gave us some insight on how he acquired his mental toughness, and I want to touch for y'all real fast on the blueprint that is laid out all through this article and how you can instill similar mental toughness in the little ones that you got on the way up. I'm taking notes. Hope you taking notes. Let's get into it.
AB the Hero, back at it, baby.
So first off, thank y'all for hitting the like button, getting active with it on this channel. It is always greatly appreciated. Now let's get straight into this because I don't want to hold y'all too long. All right, this article here to me is a really good write-up, right? You get a lot of insight, personal insight from Lamelo Ball, right? We do a lot of watching the post-game press conferences from Lamelo, and you get raw Lamelo there, but oftentimes you get very short, quick answers. You don't really get to see Lamelo. And in this article, I feel like we got to see Lamelo. So what I want to do is really give y'all some of the key points that I think are important, especially if you're a father like myself, if you're a future father, if you're a mentor, if you're working with young folks in any capacity on how Lavar instilled some things in Lamelo that I feel like really changed the trajectory of what he had going on here. And obviously you might not be able to recreate all of these situations, but you may be able to find a way to do it in your own way. All right, so let's get straight into this. At the beginning of this article here, they're talking about Lamelo and some of the criticism that he has, right? We all know that folks are constantly talking about Lamelo Ball. If you go through the history of this, we just saw a video where Kyrie Irving said, since he was 13, we've been watching him, right? And we also know that we see child stars and prodigies and young folks who get some accolades at a young age, and all of that stuff send them completely off the rails, right? It's the positive pressure of what they doing and the folks hyping them up, but oftentimes it's also the negatives that they have to deal with, right? So you could have that hit movie when you're 12, you can come back when you're 14 and the hit ain't a hit no more, and folks start to talking about you, and you so internally wrapped up in your identity as that movie that you lose yourself in it. Okay, and so we got here Lamelo Ball talks about how he deals with that criticism, and this is the start of where he really starts to give props to Lavar Ball for a lot of the stuff. He said, I got to give a lot of props to my father, my pops. It's just the way that he had us. He pretty much instilled in us, if they're not talking about you, then you're not doing anything, right? And if they're not hating on you, then you're pretty much not doing anything either. And it's that same idea that you hear all of the time when folks talk about good news, all press is good press. When folks really start to talking about you, that's when you know you're striking the chord with a larger demographic. It's something that I've talked about oftentimes on this channel as well, is I can tell when there's a video that's going to reach past my typical audience because I start to see haters in it. I start to see people challenging the theories that I got going, and not just like, hey, AB, I really appreciate what you're saying, but there's some points here where you're slipping. I could really start to see people being like, yo, bro, wait a minute. I don't even know. You might be tripping on this one. And I'm like, okay, that's it. That's the fine line here. So I think that's where Melo is saying, right? But I think that what's so interesting here, and this is the point one of something that you need to instill in your young ones, is that it's that understanding is imprinted on them at a young age, right? So once and this is what a lot of this stuff is. If you ever sold anything, right? You might ask somebody, hey, look at this hat here. All right. I got this hat for sale and it's super nice and it's gray and it match your outfit. And they'll say to you, you know what, man, I really don't even wear hats like that. And you have to come up with a rebuttal, right? On the spot. If you want to make the sale, the person don't wear hats. Most people will say, all right, you don't wear hats, cool. I'm gonna go try somebody else. But you have to let them know, you know what, man, I see that you don't wear hats and that sun cancer and that skin cancer is real. And a good old hat can help prevent that from you. And it really ain't gonna cost you nothing but $5.99 to save you from possible skin cancer. You might have to do that. That might get people thinking. So it's the same thing that my man Lavar is doing here and throughout this article is he's preparing them ahead of time with the rebuttal, right? So folks is gonna hate on you, and before people even start to hating on you, I want you to know that the hate is a sign of actually the stuff that we working on is working. That's a check mark. Don't get down on it. Don't look at it and be like, oh man, they hating, I gotta stop. I need to do something different. Look at it and say, ooh, this is working. I'm going to the next level. That's that right there, right? It's building those things in there. You got to see the hurdles and you got to see the different trials and tribulations before they come, and you got to instill something in there that helps folks get over it, right? Don't just wait. Don't wait till they 16, 17, 18, 19 years old and then start to be like, the hating and all of that stuff. It's going, no, it's too late at that point. You got to really, you got to fight doubts and all of these different things. This leads me to my next point here. We go back into the article and he says, continuing to look back on his father's words, he said, y'all destined for the league type shit. Made us really believe it. I came out the womb believing it. When you got that factor and you really believe it, that's really it. All you could do is make it for real. That's what our mindset was. I felt like I could play in the league when I was 14 and 15. I probably couldn't have, but that's just how I thought. I was like, it's just basketball. If he could shoot, I could shoot. He could dribble, I could dribble. From the beginning, I thought I was always, no one could really mess with me. That was just my attitude. And so that's the second part of what I'm saying here, right? Is from the jump, it's instilled that you got a purpose on your life. It's instilled that you destined for success. It's instilled that, yes, you see all of the trials and tribulations around you, but there's something greater for you. Don't you ever go to a parade? I'm gonna break out here. Sometimes you go to a parade and they had the horses, and what they do is they put the blinders on the horses because they know if the horses start to see to the left and to the right, it might confuse them a little bit. They get spooked and they don't know what to do, and then they go crazy. All right, we pulled up a video many moons ago. This one here, let me see on the channel. Is this video here where it's let me see. This one here where Lamelo Ball opens up about outside noise, right? And this video was so important because this was the first time that we heard Lamelo Ball say, I gotta stop letting people in my head, right? This is the first time that we heard Lamelo Ball say that, damn, it looked like my blinders is I'm starting to see things from the outside and it's affecting something, right? In this same video, we played a clip from Richard Williams and Venus Williams way back when. It was an article in which one of the media outlets was trying to penetrate this wall that he has set up, right? This wall of belief. She was saying like, yo, I'm about to cook whoever. Just the same way he said here, I thought it was up for anybody. If they could dribble, I could dribble. I'm 14, 15, I could play in the NBA. Serena Williams, or Venus Williams had the same like laser focus, and it was a dude in the interviews and he was like, what makes you think that? are you sure? Are you sure? And Richard had to step in and say, she done already told you. She believed it. It's set in stone. It's going to happen. Don't try to break that from her. And it's the same type of thing that my man Lamelo is saying that he had instilled in him at such a young age. That's point number 2. Number 3 here goes into this story where Lavar, all right, so number 3 here goes into Lamelo talking about where that mental set really started that mindset really started to set in for him. And he talked about leaving high school and then going to Lithuania, okay? And so when he went to Lithuania, it was the first time from my perspective that he really felt some of those trials and tribulations, right? So we're looking at a guy, he got them blinders on, and I'm focused, and it was his first opportunity to experience some things and test them blinders, okay? So he went to Lithuania, and when he was making that trip to Lithuania, I remember it was like yesterday, folks was like, but what about the prom? What about him walking across the stage? He ain't even gonna be able to go to the after set after the game with his friends. He gonna be, and Lamelo say, man, honestly, after Lithuania, I didn't give a fuck where I got drafted at. The beds, you roll to the left, you fall off. You roll to the right, you fall off. My calves was hanging off the bed. Not my feet, my whole calves. He said, once you go through that, I was like, man, I don't care where you put me. As long as I'm in the States, I got water, I'm good. And this is so critical to me because there's so many moments in LaMelo's journey that when they were going down, folks looked at him as oh, this is a tragic mistake. You can't bounce back from this. You leave in high school. Oh, ain't no way. This is the one thing that's gonna stop you. And there's so much of this stuff where my man Lamelo started talking about it, and he's saying that is what makes me who I am. Oh my. That is what makes me different. That's why I'm rare. That's why I'm one of one. If I hadn't have done that, I might be like you. And I say, boy, you over here, Lamelo, come on now. So it's just deep here. Because he started to go in and he say, you know what, that bit of sacrifice, that bit of introduced into the grind is what really made the mental shit. He say this here, I'm gonna highlight it here. The mental shit goes back to Lithuania. Ever since that, I ain't gonna lie, my mental been straight. It ain't nothing you could do. I even sat the bench there. I literally did everything. And so what to me that is, I would call that point 3, is you gotta create these opportunities and experiences and things that you could do in a controlled environment. To really give them an opportunity to test the mental workshops that you've been putting on them, because that critique that he was talking about earlier of when they talking about you, that mean you doing something right, it was tested when he went to Lithuania. That you can do anything, you destined for greatness. This is all small and it's bigger and better than you can ever imagine. That was tested when he went to Lithuania, right? But he also then that stuff was reaffirmed for himself. So there's something cool to when somebody's telling you that from the outside, but then it's another level when you experience that and you have that revelation for your own self. That's what happened here. One of the big things that talks about in this article is probably like point number 4 or 5 is Lavar talks about creating this a circle around Lamelo and Zoe and all of them at a young age, and it gives us this cute little story about Lamelo in preschool, and he's singing. They supposed to sing their favorite song, and Lamelo start just busting out DMX, and he gets in trouble because he's singing the explicit version, and the preschool teacher like, hold up, wait a minute, who is this little boy? And Lavar tells this story to point out that at a young age. Right, so we talk about Lamelo being the 4th youngest player to make it to the All-Star game, okay? We talk about LaMelo being one of the youngest rookies in the NBL to play and win Rookie of the Year. We talk about LaMelo playing in the JBA and being 16 and everybody else being 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. We talk about a video that I also got on this channel where we watching LaMelo Ball play basketball at 11 years old with his brothers versus a high school team. And so he's saying that the reason why all of that stuff it happens and it works seamlessly is because even at a young age, I was treating LaMelo like he was a bit older than what he was. So when I asked him to be in situations of where he had to act a bit older or be around folks than he was already adapted to it. He even talked about adapting to it so much they would invite people over to the house. And LaMelo would be like, yeah, he didn't even have no friends. He was inviting Jello and Zoe friends over because he was so accustomed to being around those older kids. This is why when you think about LaMelo Ball and relationships with a Miles Bridges, relationships with a Terry Rozier and some of these other vets, is because he used to doing that, right? So I always had this theory of you are like a microcosm, or you a collaboration of the people who you keep closest to you, okay? So if you got 5 people, right, and you look at the 5 people on, and you average up the incomes of your closest 5 people, you probably fall somewhere in the middle, right? And when you start to wanting to increase that, you gotta go hang out with some people on this end of the spectrum, and they gonna pull your income up that way, right? If you talk about even being funny or happy-go-lucky, you might find yourself, it's just all of these different things, right? So I think that that's what I see with that point here, is he put LaMelo in a circle that was preparing him to like once again be able to meet some of the challenges that were going to face him moving forward. There's one last point here I want to get to, and I think that it's so dope because in this article here, right, you have this LaMelo Ball who is accomplished all of the stuff that he's accomplished, right? And they talk about not only is that on the court development part of the plan, that mental development part of the plan, those affirmations and you can do it and don't worry about that, but there was also this learning that happened within their physical environments, right? Because they say you are a product of your environment. So what LaMelo did, what Lavar did, is raise those boys out in the Chino Hills, all right? But his family was South Central, so he made sure there was some collaboration, right? So just as much time as they spent in Chino Hills experience a certain lifestyle, he also took some time and went down the road and got to see what it's like living on South Central, right? And so when we start talking about things that you can do and things that you can do to create some well-rounded adults, is you gotta give experience. That's one of the big things that I feel like I have learned through my life. If every watershed moment where I've had some like aha awakening, it's been due to certain experiences, right? I'm like one of those dudes, just like a lot of folks, who where you grow up in the hood or you grow up in certain areas, and what happens is you don't even know that you're poor. You don't even know. I mean, you see that you might not have as much as these people got, or you might not have the new shoes or the woo woo, but you don't even realize that they poor too. I remember I had the Sonic shoes growing up, right? I remember my neighbor, he got the Sonic shoes as play shoes for the summer, okay? And when the school started, I got the Sonic shoes, and I was like, oh, I finally got the Sonic shoes. And he was like, oh, those are my play shoes. These Air Pippins is my actual school shoes. And I was like, oh. But it wasn't even till further down, I went to this church on the other side of town, and we started to, and we was in a different neighborhood than mine. I was like, oh shit, they was poor too. And none of us had no money. So it's creating those situations where, you know, you can get the best of both worlds. But the real like sauce in this environment here is you gotta not only prepare for those moments and the journey, but you gotta also prepare for the destination. All right. And so what Lavar and they talk about in this thing is, he says, but Zoe pulling up in high school with a new white BMW 7 Series and Jello pulling up in a separate one. Yes, it's to the same school parking lot, and Lamelo also pulling up in a Lamborghini. And he says that's important because I wanted my sons to live an NBA lifestyle, right? Because I didn't want you to be able to dangle some keys in front of them and get them off track. I didn't want you to dangle a shoe contract in front of them and get them off track. I didn't want you to be able to dangle a house or some lifestyle in front of them that they had never experienced and get them off track. So I gave those things, the material things at a young age. I got them accustomed to it. So when these corporations and these companies come with these different shiny toys, they be like, bro, what, you offer me a shoe deal and I already I done that already. I had my own signature shoe when I was in such and such. You offer me a first class flight and I done already flown around the world. So you do see you got to do like Lamelo, who say, you know, I'm going to also need access to that Puma jet. I'm going to also need 100 million on top of it. And I'm not selling out everything. I want to be able to have access to wear my own brand. I talked about this in the other video before. This is this is a big deal when you look at LaFrance here on his chest and you see the Puma hoops on his feet. Not a lot of people could be able in a situation where they would be able to pull that off, where you got your own lifestyle brand and you got your own sneakers and they're not in collaboration as it seems, or partnership with the one company. You've been able to have two separate entities and maintain your own ownership. That's a big deal, man, that what Lamelo is doing here. So I think that's the kind of final point here. And I said it before, is you have to not only prepare them for the journey, but you also got to be preparing them for the destination. When they get to where you tell them that they can go, are they going to be able to hold and handle that? We saw Lamelo earlier this year. He came through with the grill iced out and the chains. And they said, Lamelo, how much of that NBA money you spent? He said, man, I ain't even touched the NBA money yet. I'm saving it. This is light. I'm frugal with my stuff. I'm reinvesting it. I'm company after company after company. And so to me, man, I hope that this was some insight and a bit of a blueprint on how you can damn near do what they just did in your own way and then build better human beings for tomorrow. It's your main man, AB the Hero. We getting up out of here. Peace.
No, not peace. +1, triple B's. We out.